The Browns have the second pick, and the Giants have the third. But there is a report that each team has received and listened to trade offers to move down in the draft.
Right.
Y'all get y'all together, man. Y'all some feelings.
Would it be a mistake for the Giants to trade out of the top three?
You know, it's not a mistake if they're seeing something that they don't like. The Giants and the Browns out of two. The Browns are sitting at two, the Giants, and they're talking to people for a reason. You know, what is it, like 48 hours before the draft or whatever the hours will be, because there's interest from some other teams that's willing to move up for a haul. And if they're playing possum, that's what they do in the drafts anyway, is make it seem as though somebody's moving up to try to get in a position to draft somebody that they have an eye on. But I don't think it would be a mistake at all, because if they're not convinced that, let's talk about the quarterbacks, that Cam Ward, Shedeur, and let's talk about Abdul Carter, and let's talk about Travis Hunter. If they're not convinced that those four premium guys are sitting there that they can pick from in those two slots at second and third, then you want to move out of that spot. Because even though we look at these players and say to ourselves, they're, you know, once-in-a-lifetime, generational talents, all of these things, those dudes that I talk about all the time that's in those rooms that drive their little homies around when they was interns at schools and things of that nature that work together, they may not be convinced. They may look for value later on in the first round, second round. They got the same grade on one guy as the same grade on another guy that they think they could get in another spot. They do it all the time. So if they don't think it's a mistake, how can I think it's a mistake?
I think they can be smart dummies sometimes.
Yeah, they could.
There's no doubt this is what I call, because let me tell you, this whole game, as much as we talk about it, it starts with the quarterback position. If you're going to have success in this league, we talk about it every day. It starts with the quarterback position. Neither one of these teams have their quarterback of the future. Both of these teams have spent enormous amount of money trying to find that quarterback. You gonna tell me you were sold on Daniel Jones, but you ain't sold on Shedeur Sanders? That's just why you in the problems you in right now. You saw him and said, oh, yeah, I'm going to give him 40, but I'm not going to take him because he can't win for me. That's the craziness that I'm seeing here. That's the ignorance that is getting. And I call these smart dummies. You're outsmarting yourself. You're not going anywhere without the quarterback. And you don't have your future quarterback on the roster. I'm going to focus on that right here. And I'm going to take that young man right there, because I've seen him play in big spots. I've seen him do big things in big games, and I want that on my team. Shame on the whole staff, organization, on both of them, on both parts, Giants and the Browns. You put resources towards the quarterback position. Now go find your young quarterback. You don't have them in the room. So, yeah, I call that smart dummies.
And they are, you just mentioned it, smart dummies. There are tons of them. The league is littered with smart dummies. There's no question about it.
Why are they smart?
Because they say they smart.
That's all.
That's all.
That's it.
They just say they smart. You know how it goes.
They're trying to outsmart everybody. When you know you're trying to outsmart everybody, you can get all the players you want. You ain't going nowhere without a quarterback. So stop being a smart dummy. I'm going to drop down and get me a load. And your whole load ain't going to take you nowhere until you get the quarterback. So let's play the game the right way. Stop being a smart dummy.
And Michael's correct in that assessment. But what I would say is, if you're looking at and scouting and you say Jackson Dart, for instance, is the same in their eyes as Shedeur and Cam Ward. This is where the smart dummy part comes into.
Right, that's why their eyes shouldn't be looking.
They say, we have the same grade, we're happy with either one. Oh, so let's move down because we think we can still get Howard or Jackson Dart. That's the way they think. And that's why Michael says that they put themselves in these positions all the time.
What would you do?
I personally probably feel comfortable just drafting Travis Hunter at 3. Because
but what if Shedeur is available?
But I got 2 quarterbacks already. And I'm not going to play Shedeur. I'm not drafting Shedeur. I'm not drafting Shedeur for the next coach. I'm trying to win right now. I'm trying to win right now,
why you
and
got
I
the
don't.
quarterback in the room right now.
But wait, Michael, I'm trying to win right
That's
now.
why I'm not leaving it. That's why I'm not leaving it up to the head coach. That's why this got to be an organization. That's why I'm coming down out of there and say, hey, man.
But Joe Shane, the general manager, and the head coach are on the same level.
Right, and that's
they
why
came together. They gonna go out together.
And I'm saying, if I'm in the Giants, I'm looking at all things. I'm looking at all things. I'm looking at, especially the Giants. I'm looking at the future I can have with this kind of a quarterback.
That's true.
Shedeur. I'm looking at the pressure that is going to be put on this man coming into New York, and how many quarterbacks don't deal with pressure well, and he does.
I get everything you said, Michael. I want Shedeur to have an opportunity to play for the Giants. I'm just trying to give you the way that they're thinking and how they may be thinking about the situation, about drafting him when they got two quarterbacks that's in the room. The man just said the other day he's comfortable with the quarterback room.
Yeah, he has to say that.
Huh?
He has to say that.
Well, he may have to, but I have to take his word for it, because is one of these young quarterbacks ready to play right now when I got these two veterans that are right there that I'm most likely going to wind up playing? What we're seeing in Jaden Daniels and C.J. Stroud, we cannot allow that to affect our decision-making on these quarterbacks, because we also seen what happened to Caleb Williams. That's the only problem that I have with the situation, is that if I'm going to pull the trigger based on those other quarterbacks that were young and had success as rookies, and it don't work out that way, and I draft him, but I'm still playing these older dudes, they gonna fire me, so I ain't gonna never be able to coach none of these young quarterbacks. So I gotta go with experience and veterans.
That's a no-win situation either way. Neither one of these teams is winning next year.
No, that's not true. Cleveland got a good team, man.
Like, both of these teams have to get their quarterback of the future.
Right.
You have to.
Right.
The coach ain't looking for no quarterback.
I'm not depending on Russell Wilson to push me into playoff contention.
Right.
That's not going to happen.
Let's stop. Right.
You know what I'm saying? I just need you there for leadership and to show this young dude I bring in here how to be a professional. Let's just keep it one. In order for
to maximize having the older guys, I need to have the young guy in the room also, at least to glean the knowledge from the older guy.
I'm going to get fired.
Okay, well, taking the coach's situation and the GM's circumstances out of it, and just saying the Giants organization. Would it be a mistake for the Giants as an organization to trade out of the top three? I believe so. Yeah. First of all, are we just like resolute that Cam Ward is that much better than Shedeur Sanders? No. But it is an understood and accepted fact that Cam Ward is going to be the #1 overall pick.
Not to me.
Okay, well,
yeah, most
people are assuming that Cam Ward is going to be the #1 overall pick.
And
we don't feel like there is a massive gap.
Drop that out from the
He spent 6 months at that damn school.
No. But Cam and Shedeur are not prospects that are far off from each other.
Right.
They have some differences in their game, but even statistically, they're not that far off from each other. So if they're that close, and Cam Ward is decidedly, for the most part, the #1 overall pick, and you are a team who's in need of a quarterback, which the Browns and the Giants are, it is beyond my comprehension that you would not take a quarterback. And the Giants specifically are in a perfect position because they have Russell Wilson, who at this point is a bridge quarterback in the NFL. Jameis is a backup, so this is not even a factor. It's Russ. So you have a strong quarterback room. You don't have to play Shedeur right away, which would be a situation in some of these other places that he may go, which might not be the best thing for him. So he can come to New York without the pressure of having to start right away. You're not going to be better than the Eagles. You're not going to be better than Washington. At best, you're going to be sniffing around a wild card spot at the end of the season, and most of us feel that they're not going to get in, which means you're going to be picking in the middle of the draft next year when you will need a quarterback, and then you will get a quarterback that is rated around the middle of the draft. Now, maybe that'll end up being the right thing, because how good is anybody at evaluating quarterbacks when you've got Brock Purdy going the last pick in the draft? But at the end of the day, this is still how this works. We watch the college games, we evaluate, you predict, you scout, you do the combine, you do the pro day, and then you get drafted where you get drafted, right? So to me, it is unthinkable, it is unimaginable that the Giants would not take Shedeur if they have him there at 3. Unimaginable to me.
Right.
You do not have your quarterback of the future, and there he is.
And just one thing, and she's absolutely right, but even on the coaching side, if I'm coach, I'm thinking, all right, if I do go and get the young quarterback and I start the veteran quarterback, and you know New York, they're gonna yell for the heads.
Yeah,
We got to get this joke out of here. And you put in Shedeur, and we start seeing, oh man, this combination looks good. Oh, he looks good with Shedeur. Oh. Then you're not going to want to disrupt that. You're going to say, leave it. That's a chance to keep his job. Oh, boy, you got the young guy looking good. We want to keep continuity for him for the second year when he started. And that's how you can keep your job. You go and get you a quarterback. And now you have the now and the later taken care of if you're the coach. That's what I would be doing. But I guess I'm a smart dummy or something. I don't know what it is.
I get everything you, Joy. I understand that. But I'm just telling you, the way that they're thinking possibly of moving in this direction.
Right. And I was telling you the way Malik Neighbors thinking. What the hell are y'all doing? Give me my quarterback for the future so I could have a great career here.
Exactly.
That's what I'm saying.
From the top to the bottom of the first round, the Chiefs have the 31st overall pick, and general manager Brett Veach seems to have his eyes set on helping Mahomes out on the offensive side. Veach told reporters that he is always looking to add playmakers around Mahomes, and that it'd be, quote, advantageous for us to identify a receiver and or running back that has explosive playmaking ability. That is what Michael has been hoping that the Cowboys do in the first round of the draft. So is playmaker the biggest need for the Chiefs, though, Michael?
You know, I find that one interesting because, you know, as much as we watched that Super Bowl with the Philadelphia Eagles, and as a matter of fact, in recent history, when they played the Super Bowl against Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the 2 times they've lost Super Bowls, it was because Patrick Mahomes just got blitzed. Yeah. He could not get set. He was just running for his life, literally. I've seen the Chiefs do great with second-hand receivers or receivers they pick up off the wire or in late rounds, and they still do great because Patrick Mahomes, if you can protect him just somewhat, he will give any receiver the first route, the second route. He's going to buy some time, even give you a third route. So you can find less receivers on the back end or less playmakers. I need linemen to protect him. Linemen to protect him. And they hit sometimes, like they hit Trey Smith, and when they got him in 2021, 6-rounder, made the Pro Bowl last year and got paid. You know, franchise tag number 1 year, $23 million. So they do that sometimes, and they hit with those late offensive linemen. But when I look at that quarterback, I said, I ain't waiting late to find him no more. I got to protect him, and I got a shot. That's what I would be thinking.
I'm not really concerned like that about whether or not they're going to get the offensive line together because they've shown in the past when it's broken down, they usually fix it. Getting another explosive playmaker in the running back position or the wide receiver position doesn't mean they have to take him in the first round. They can take him later on in the round. Right. They can address so many issues in this draft because there's players that are available that can still play, that will be available to them, whether it's offensive linemen, whether it's receivers, whether it's the running back position. So they do need to address some explosive playmaking ability to go along with Worthy. Yeah, they re-signed Juju, got him back, and eventually they're going to get Rashee Rice back. But if there's somebody that's out there that's hanging around, that's a go-getter, you go and you get him. Offensive line isn't a sexy position. They know what they're doing at the off. Like you mentioned, Michael, they re-signed Trey Smith, the franchise tag, giving him $23 million. And I'm sure that they got some people on their offensive line that they feel good about. That's why they allowed others to leave.
Well, they signed a left tackle, Jalen Moore, from the Niners, and then they re-signed Mike Caliendo, the guard. So obviously, you know, the offensive line was the glaring problem in both of those Super Bowls. As Michael mentioned, he was sacked 6 times in the Super Bowl, the most he's ever been sacked in a game.
Right.
And it's, you know, just having eyeballs.
Right, and you just can't play that way.
Right. Paul, what do you think? Should they go to the playmaker or offensive line?
Yeah, well, the glaring issue for me was the offensive line. You know, this is my biggest investment, my quarterback. This is my best player. You got to protect him at all costs. You got to forget that he only lost, 2 games as a starter last year, 1 in the regular season and the Super Bowl. So my number 1 priority when I watched that Super Bowl, that's the first thing that came to mind. You got to protect him. Listen, Mahomes, Brady's, these guys, Aaron Rodgers, they gonna find playmakers. They gonna make players look better than they really are.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because they're that good a quarterback. It's a different class. So, I'm going to address that offensive line. I need protection for this guy. I don't want him running for his life like we see he did all last season, because he's going to make somebody out there look better than what they really are, and that's what the great ones do. So they can find a playmaker somewhere in the second or third round.
Yeah, that's true. However, there's been a revolving door on a consistent basis with their playmakers because they haven't had that guy that Patrick Mahomes can make look
Rice
like.
got hurt.
They drafted him in the second round. Second round is a high top 50 pick. It's a high pick.
Yeah.
But when you start thinking about some of the other guys that they got off the streets and they brought in, they ain't there no more. Some of them dudes, MVSs and all them dudes, they ain't there because Patrick Mahomes couldn't make them look like anything. That's why it's important for them to find the right playmaker so that they don't have these issues along with the offensive line.
Subscribe here to get the latest from Speak, and go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.